Okay, so settle in, everyone. Today, we're going to share some stories you actually sent us from a video about true road trip horror encounters.
Yeah, these aren't your typical car broke down tales. These are, well, they're about unsettling run-ins with people when you're out there, vulnerable.
Exactly. We're just going to walk through them, share the details, kind of like you're right here with us listening.
Hey.
So let's get into the first one.
Right.
This first story is about a woman named Sally. She was doing this really long drive, southern Ontario, down to Oklahoma.
Alone.
That's a huge drive.
Yes.
The source mentioned it was like 20 hours, maybe more. And this was, what, about 30 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. She'd done it before, apparently, saves money. Anyway, she's about 14, maybe 15 hours in, just totally exhausted.
Understandable.
So she decides, okay, gotta sleep. Pulls into a rest stop. She picked a spot that seemed okay, well lit, near the buildings, other cars around.
Trying to be safe. Makes sense.
She goes to the restroom, comes back, gets settled in her car, and then this RV pulls up right next to her.
An older couple gets out. They seem nice enough, apparently. Start chatting, asking where she was coming from.
Just making conversation.
Yeah. They said they were heading north, just needed some sleep, too. And they actually mentioned they felt better stopping because they saw her there. Another traveler.
Right. Safety in numbers, or so they thought.
Exactly. So they say good night, good trip, whatever, and go into their RV. Sally locks her doors, tries to get some sleep.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 2-3 hours later, she wakes up. And she just has this feeling.
A bad feeling.
Yeah, more than bad. Like, really unsettling. And it just got worse over the next, 10 minutes.
Did she see anything?
No, that's the thing. She looked around, lights were on, cars were still there. Nothing looked wrong. She tried to tell herself she was just tired, maybe uncomfortable in the car.
Yeah, the feeling didn't go away.
Not at all. It got stronger. The video called it a jarring, queasy, uneasy feeling. Like every red alarm was blaring in her head.
Wow. Pure instinct.
Totally. Her gut was just screaming at her. Leave. And she started panicking, didn't even care where she went, just jammed the car in gear and sped out of there.
Just fled. Didn't even think twice.
Nope. She drove maybe 20 miles down the road, found a little motel next to a gas station.
Okay. Someplace safer, hopefully.
Yeah. The person working there gave her a deal on a room, seemed worried about her being alone so late. She got the room, locked the door, and basically passed out. Slept right through.
And the next morning, this is the part that gets you.
Oh, yeah. She wakes up around 9 a.m., turns on the TV in the motel room, and there's breaking news.
Don't tell me.
Yeah. An elderly couple found murdered overnight.
At a rest stop.
No. And the news footage showed the RV, the exact RV she was parked next to, in the exact spot.
Oh my God. That's chilling.
It gets worse. Remember she dropped a drink cup? It rolled under her car.
Yeah.
She saw it in the news footage. Right there, by the RV, under where her car had been.
So she was right there when, or just before.
Seems like it. The source says a man broke into the RV, killed the couple, and left. They never caught him.
And her feeling, that instinct, it probably saved her life.
Absolutely. She must have left just before he showed up, or maybe while he was there. Who knows? But yeah, after that, the video says she never stayed at a rest stop overnight again. Only hotels.
I don't blame her. Not one bit. Wow. That's quite a start. That intuition saved her.
Seriously. Okay, let's move to the second one. This takes us way out to the Australian Outback.
Right. Different continent, same kind of isolation, maybe even more extreme.
This one's told by the narrator himself. He describes himself as a pretty built 6'2" dude, about 26 at the time. He's on a road trip with his friend, his mate.
In a Nissan X-Trail, right. Exploring the dinosaur trail area.
Yeah. They had this ambitious plan, like a 6-hour round trip in one day from where they were staying. But the Outback wasn't making it easy.
No, first the aircon died, which in that heat,
Yeah, the source called the 3-hour drive out hell. Then their GPS just stopped working. The map software didn't even cover that area.
Wow. So back to basics. Old school map.
An old street directory, yeah. A refer deeks, he called it. They're trying to navigate these dirt tracks, hardly any signs. Total isolation.
That adds a layer of stress right there.
For sure. Anyway, they finally make it to the trail, explore for a couple hours, decide they better head back before it gets dark.
Smart move out there.
So as they're leaving the trail entrance, they run into this guy, described as a gnarly old guy in camo gear.
Okay. Bit weird. Did he work there?
Unclear. Maybe loosely connected, but he seemed off. He asks where they're headed. The narrator's kind of vague, but his mate just blurts out the town name.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And this old guy apparently takes a real liking to the friend, laughs at their planned route back, says he knows a much quicker way, saves an hour, he claims.
A shortcut. Always a shortcut in these stories, isn't there?
Seems like it. He gives them verbal directions. They write them down, feeling kind of lucky. But the source says flat out, they got a definite creepy vibe from the guy.
Trust the vibe.
Yeah.
Always trust the vibe.
Well, they didn't. Not entirely. They followed his directions. Leads them down these unfamiliar roads, then onto this narrow dirt track.
Okay.
The directions said they should hit an intersection after about 30 minutes. But they drive and drive. An hour and a half later, still just endless dirt track.
Oh, no. This is bad.
Yeah, the narrator's starting to panic. Did they miss a turn? Are they lost? And the fuel gauge is dropping. Quarter tank left.
Middle of absolutely nowhere. No houses, no cars.
Nothing. Just dirt and dry bush. So the narrator stops the car, pulls out some binoculars they happen to have.
Good thinking. See anything?
He spots something in the distance. Looks kind of like a house or some structure. They figure maybe someone there has petrol or can give them directions. Worth a shot, right?
At that point, yeah. Anything.
So they drive towards it. But as they get closer, it's definitely not a house. It's an old caravan, like a trailer, burned out from the inside. Three walls kind of still standing.
Burned out. Okay, that's not promising.
Gets worse. They get out, look closer, and there are animal bones strung up
Wow.
everywhere.
Like decorations?
Yeah. A cow's skull over the entrance. Some bones have like grass or horsehair woven into them. Just macabre.
Okay, this is full-on horror movie territory now.
And then they see the sign. Hand-painted. Staked in the ground. It says, Moonlight Motel.
Moonlight Motel. Oh, come on.
The narrator's alarm bells are just screaming now. He tells his friend, we gotta go, right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
But his friend's looking back the way they came. Says, look, there's a car coming up the track behind them. Kicking up dust. Coming fast.
Oh, great. Just what they needed.
While they're watching this car, they hear a sound from inside the burned-out caravan. Like a scratching sound.
Hey, don't go look.
The narrator creeps closer. Peers through a hole in the wall.
What did he see?
A person. Peeking out. And then this voice, like a little girl's voice, but wrong. The source says it was obviously a grown man imitating a little girl.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And the voice giggles and says, are you here to play with me?
Nope. Time to go. Now, W.
You got it. They looked at each other, didn't say a word, just booked it back to the Nissan.
But that's the other car.
Right. As the narrator throws it in reverse, the car coming up the track pulls right up behind them, blocks them in.
Trapped.
They have to drive forward to turn around, nearly hitting that creepy Moonlight Motel sign. And as they're turning, the driver of the other car just starts blasted the horn. Nonstop.
Just laying on it. Why?
Who knows? Just pure intimidation, maybe. They peel out of there. Thankfully, the car doesn't follow.
Oh, thank God.
They eventually find their way back to the dinosaur trail entrance. It's twilight now. Kangaroos everywhere. Another hazard. But they're back on somewhat familiar ground.
Still shaken up, I imagine.
Totally. The narrator goes into the tour company office to get petrol, and he mentions the directions they got. Says something like, yeah, your workmate gave us these directions. What a jerk.
And the lady.
She gives him this weird look. Asks him to describe the guy. He does. And she says, that man doesn't work here.
Knew it.
She said she saw him earlier that day talking to tourists. Her boss actually had to tell him to leave.
Why?
Because he kept trying to find out where people were staying. Kept telling them about vacancies.
Right.
At his place.
Let me guess.
Yep. The Moonlight Motel.
Unbelievable. So the whole shortcut thing was a lure.
Looks like it. The story is with the narrator just saying, directed at that guy, let's not meet. Gives you chills.
Yeah, that's deeply unsettling. The idea of someone actively trying to lure travelers off the path like that. A reminder to be wary of seemingly helpful strangers, especially when your gut says something's off.
Absolutely. Okay, story number 3. This one takes place in the Utah desert. Really remote.
Another isolated setting. Seems to be a theme.
Yeah. This involves the narrator's dad. He was a journalist, a writer, doing a cross-country trip for a book called The Big Roads.
Okay.
He was driving old Route 66, Virginia, to California and back. And he brought his kid, the narrator, who was 13 at the time, and the narrator's friend, also 13.
Road trip with teenagers. Brave man.
Yeah. So the first part was fine, motels, hotels, but the dad was an outdoorsman, wanted camp sometimes.
Right.
This story happens on their very first camping night. They picked a spot specifically because it was remote. Middle of literally nowhere in Utah. Source says no one for at least 20 miles on either side.
That's serious isolation. You're really on your own out there.
Totally. They get there in the rented minivan. The campsite's on a little hill above an old Pony Express. Stop. The dad wanted to check out.
Cool historical site, but yeah, remote.
There were bees and wasps around, so the friend decides to stay in the minivan. The dad and the narrator head down the hill to look at the old station.
And the narrator's feeling the isolation.
Big time. Recalls being jumpy and skittish and thinking, if anything happened, we'd be totally screwed.
A reasonable fear for a 13-year-old out there.
They check out the station, takes maybe 15-20 minutes, then head back up the hill towards the van and their campsite. That's when they see it.
Let me guess. Not good.
A big truck. Driving down an old dirt road nearby. They'd seen it earlier, didn't think much of it.
But now,
it turns onto their campsite road, pulls up, parks maybe halfway up the road towards their van.
Okay, that's weird. Blocking the path.
Sort of. A man gets out.
Yeah.
And he's carrying what looks like a hunting rifle.
Oh.
He just starts hunting. Right there, wandering around the area where the dad and narrator are walking up, maybe 50 feet from their van, where the friend is.
Didn't they say it was remote? Was it hunting season? Was it even allowed there?
Exactly. The source makes a point of saying
Okay.
This was absolutely a no hunting zone, period.
Okay, so this guy's breaking the law, and he's armed, near kids. Not good.
The dad's obviously concerned, especially about the friend alone in the van, closer to this guy. So he yells out something like, "Hey, we've got kids here. You can't hunt here."
Reasonable thing to say. How did the guy react?
This is where it gets really scary. The narrator says the second the man turned to face them, they felt this overwhelming sense of complete doom. Like their whole body just knew something was terribly wrong.
That gut feeling again. Primal fear.
Yeah. The man just looks him over, doesn't say a word, and then he raises the rifle.
No.
And aims it right at him.
At the dad and the kid. Oh my God. Did the dad have a weapon?
No, nothing. Just standing there. He quickly shoves the narrator behind a big boulder.
Smart move. Did he hide?
No. He stood his ground, just stared back at the guy aiming the rifle at him.
Wow. That's incredibly brave. And terrifying. A standoff.
For a solid minute, the source says, just silence. Gun aimed. The narrator's behind the rock, thinking they're going to get shot, thinking about escaping. Just absolute terror.
I can't even imagine a whole minute like that.
Then, after that minute, the man lowers the gun.
Okay. Say he leaves.
He just tilts his head, kind of looks at the dad. Then he points at him with his fingers like a gun.
Like a pistol gesture.
Yeah. And he fake shot him. Pop.
With his fingers.
What on earth?
Yeah.
That's bizarre. And menacing.
Totally bizarre. Then he just gets back in his truck, turns around, and drives away. Gone.
Just like that. No explanation. Nothing.
Nothing. The narrator was so freaked out, convinced the guy would come back and kill them all, that they and the friend refused to sleep in the tent. They all slept in the minivan.
In the Utah desert heat. Must have been awful.
Yeah, source says 90 degrees. But they were too scared. Thankfully, the guy didn't come back, but they never knew why he did it. Just pure random menace.
That really highlights the vulnerability, doesn't it? They're so isolated, someone acts aggressively or threateningly for no reason, and there's nothing you can do. The lack of reason makes it even scarier.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, one last story for today. This one happened to the narrator directly about 2 years before they told it.
They were driving cross country again, northwest down to Georgia, with their friend Kim, trying to make good time, so they were taking shifts driving through the night.
Another late night driving scenario.
Yep. They actually mentioned getting pulled over earlier near Laramie, Wyoming, just for speeding, like 10 over. But the cop was apparently really nice, let them off with a warning, said something about them having a long way to go without cruise control.
Okay, so a positive police encounter earlier, setting a baseline.
Right, so now it's late, maybe 3.0, 4.0 in the morning. They're way past Laramie, deserted highway, tall pines, mountains, dark, really dark, unlit road.
Got the picture. Spooky.
Kim's totally crashed out in the passenger seat, reclined, covered with a blanket, sound asleep. The narrator's driving, trying hard to concentrate, stay awake. Visibility is poor.
Tough driving conditions.
Suddenly, red and blue, flashing lights in the rear view.
Uh-oh. Pulled over again.
Looks like it. Narrator checks this. Nope. Right on the limit. They were being careful after the warning.
Okay, so not speeding. Why the stop then?
They pull over, kill the engine, roll down the window. The police car behind them. It looks like an unmarked car. Hard to tell for sure in the dark.
Unmarked. Okay, that raises a flag, maybe. And Kim's still asleep.
Still sound asleep. An officer walks up to the driver's window. He speaks with what the narrator calls a Midwestern drawl.
All right, what does he say?
Starts with the classic, "Ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over today?" She says no because she honestly doesn't.
And
He immediately shines his flashlight right in her face, blinding her.
aggressive move, not like the friendly cop earlier.
Not at all. He comments on her license plates being from far away, asks where she's headed. She says, "Georgia, family emergency." Trying to sound calm, explain the urgency.
Seems reasonable.
This is where it gets super weird. The officer says, "Is that so? Well, miss, you aren't in any shape to make it to Georgia from Nebraska."
From Nebraska. But they were in Wyoming, weren't they?
Exactly. The narrator's totally confused. Thinks, "Are we in Nebraska? Did I miss something? Is something wrong with the car? Am I falling asleep?"
Understandable confusion. Major disconnect there.
She asks him, "I'm sorry, what's wrong here?" Trying to understand.
In his response,
He says, "Miss, step out of the car. I can show you." And as he says it, he gestures with his flashlight towards the passenger seat, towards Kim.
towards her sleeping friend. What does he want to show her?
No idea, but it's incredibly ominous. The flashlight beam sweeps across Kim's face, still covered mostly by the blanket.
Okay.
And that light,
Yeah.
it wakes Kim up.
Finally.
Yeah, she kind of stirs, sits up, yawns, and just sleepily asks, "What's going on?"
And the officer's reaction to seeing her awake?
Instant change. The source says he abruptly turned, walked away, and got into his car.
Just like that. No explanation.
Then, didn't say another word. He just flips a U-turn and speeds off, back the way they came. Disappears down the highway.
Whoa. That is extremely strange. And suspicious.
Right. The narrator and Kim just stare at each other for a second, like, what just happened? Then the narrator hits the gas, rolls up the window, and they get out of there fast. Source says this time, with no regard for the speed limit.
I bet. That sounds terrifyingly like someone impersonating an officer or an officer with very bad intentions who got spooked when the potential victim wasn't alone.
Exactly the feeling. The story ends with a lesson learned. Don't stop for unmarked police cars 300 miles from civilization.
That's, a terrifying piece of advice born from a terrifying experience. Wow. 4 stories, 4 very different, very unnerving encounters.
Yeah, really makes you think. What stands out to you looking at all 4 of these together?
Well, the vulnerability, obviously. Being on the road, especially alone or in remote places, puts you in a uniquely vulnerable position.
True. Rest stops, empty highways, deserts.
And the threat in every single case came from other people, strangers with unclear or clearly bad intentions. The helpful directions that weren't helpful, the guy hunting where he shouldn't, the weird police stop.
And that feeling, that intuition, it played such a huge role in a couple of these. Sally's absolute certainty she had to leave. The narrator's feeling of doom in Utah. Even the creepy vibe from the guy in the Outback.
Right. It suggests that sometimes, maybe often, our subconscious picks up on danger signals faster than our rational mind does. Listening to that gut feeling seems crucial.
It's also interesting how things that seem normal or even helpful, like directions or a police stop, can be twisted into something dangerous.
Absolutely. And the lack of resolution in some of them. The killer at the rest stop never caught. The motive of the guy in Utah completely unknown. The officer's strange behavior unexplained. It leaves you and the people involved with this lingering sense of unease.
Yeah, no easy answers, just chilling experiences. It's been quite the journey through these accounts today.
It really has. And maybe the thought to leave you, the listener, with is this. When you're out there, far from home, that gut feeling, your intuition, it might be just as important as your GPS or your map. These stories kind of force you to ask, what happens when the biggest danger isn't a flat tire, but another person you meet in the middle of nowhere? And your only warning is just a feeling.
That's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
A really sobering point. Well, that's all the time we have for sharing these stories today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
We hope you found these accounts as gripping and honestly as unnerving as we did. If you want more content like this, stories that make you think, maybe check under your car before you drive off. Just kidding, mostly. But seriously, please do like this video, share it with anyone who enjoys unsettling true stories, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. Stay safe out there.